Who are we? We're the ones who step up for each other. I've got your back. You've got mine. Kindness, humility, empathy. It's not just talk. It's who we are. It's who we always have been. And no one can take that from us. The movement to bring it back, it started here. And here. And here. In school gymnasiums, community centers, the living room down the block. You'll be where? Okay, we'll be there. Who are we? We're the movement that will beat Donald Trump. Welcome. We're going to have to sweat for it. We're going to have to sacrifice and fight. We're going to have to lead. Everyone is going to have to lead with kindness, humility, empathy, and not just talk, but action. Action today, action tomorrow. Action until we win. And we will win if we do this together. It's who we are. It's who we always have been. Now let's show them.
Thank you for joining us as Biden for President presents 88 Days Out with Chinese Americans for Biden. And now, please welcome Biden for President National AAPI and LGBTQ+ Deputy Director, Howard O.
Hello, everybody, and good afternoon. 各位贵宾,各位朋友,大家好. We have a wonderful event planned today, so thank you for being with us today. 今天的节目很精彩，所以很开心说大家可以跟我们在一起。For those of you who don't know me, my name is Howard O, and I'm the National AAPI LGBTQ+ Deputy Director. On behalf of myself and Amit Johnny, the campaign's National AAPI Director, it's my pleasure to welcome you to the Biden campaign's less than 88 days out from the election countdown event. As you know, the number 8 is a very lucky and auspicious number in Chinese and Asian culture, so we are definitely feeling the good vibes today. This event would not be possible without the hard work of our Chinese Americans for Biden leadership team, including co-chair Lin Liu, co-chair Rebecca Lee, Katrina Chan, Wiley Chen, Paul Tiao, and Audrey Zhao, as well as all the Chinese American leaders who have helped our organization spread the word about Joe Biden's message. We have an amazing lineup of speakers today, elected and community leaders who have heartily endorsed Joe Biden to be the next president of the United States. They include our distinguished API members of Congress, inspirations to us all. Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus Chairwoman Congresswoman Judy Chu, Congresswoman Grace Meng, Congressman Ted Lieu, and we'll close with a very special performance from the iconic Yo-Yo Ma. And we'll also hear from Dennis Cheng, Biden for President Senior Advisor. But first, I would like to introduce our moderator for today's panel. Most of you know her as a 9-time US figure skating champion, 5-time world figure skating champion, and 2-time Olympic medalist. Some of you may also know her as a former public diplomacy ambassador at the US Department of State during the Obama administration. She's currently National Director of Surrogates on the Biden presidential campaign. It is an honor to work alongside her. Please welcome my colleague and friend, Michelle KWAN.
Thank you so much, Howard, for that introduction. 大家好，我是关颖珊。大家好，我係關穎珊。Hi everyone, I'm Michelle KWAN. I'm so honored to be joining you as we count down to 88 days to the election. Can you believe it? 88 days. I'm proud to be a member of Team Biden from day one. This election is so personal to me. It often makes me think of my parents who immigrated to the United States with nothing but the idea of the American dream, that if you work hard, play by the rules, that your dreams can come true. And to me, that's what's at stake in these elections. And that's why I'm so proud to support Joe Biden, because he's devoted his entire life to public service and he fights for everyone, not just those on the top. Now, the caliber of Chinese American community leaders on this call demonstrates our community support for Joe Biden. We are calling on each and every one of you to do what you can to help Joe Biden get elected. With less than 88 days left until the election, every single day counts. each of you is part of this important campaign. Each of you can bring in your family and friends to this and volunteer and support us to make sure that we elect Joe Biden. I'd like to introduce our first panelist. In 2009, she was the first Chinese American woman elected to the United States Congress on behalf of California's 27th district, and is currently the chair of the the California PAC, the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. Please help me welcome Representative Judy Chu. Oh, I think Congresswoman Chu, you're yeah, there you go.
Okay. Okay. Thank you so much, Michelle, and hello, everybody. KWAN, 大家好. I'm so thrilled to be here today with Chinese Americans for Biden. And what a day to be here. 88 days before the election. We know 8 is such a lucky number, but you know what? We have double luck today because it's 88 days. And I am so hopeful that we will, with all of our work with an engaged group of Chinese Americans from all across the nation, can work to get Joe Biden as our next president of the United States. You know, my father was born here, but he brought my mother as an immigrant from Guangdong, China. And she immigrated here because of the promise of the American dream. Well, with Trump, we've seen that American dream fail. And that's why we need Joe Biden's leadership now more than ever. We are in the middle of dual crises that we could never have imagined. A global pandemic that has taken over 160,000 American lives, as well as systemic racism and inequality deeply rooted in our country. And while this pandemic has impacted the lives of all Americans, it's also taken a disproportionate toll on the health and well-being of communities of color, including millions of Chinese American workers, families, and small businesses. And it's so horrendous that we have a president right now who's completely abdicated his leadership. Rather than taking responsibility and leading our nation through this crisis, Donald Trump has decided to stoke xenophobia and fear in order to deflect blame for his failed response to the coronavirus. And who is he putting that fear on? Of Chinese Americans. He's repeatedly referred to the coronavirus as a Chinese virus or Kung flu. He's put Asian American lives at risk, and he's waged a particularly vicious war against immigrant communities. In recent months, we've seen how he's used this pandemic to further his anti-immigrant agenda. He's issued executive orders halting nearly all forms of legal immigration to the United States, including suspending family visas and H-1B visas through which many Chinese Americans come to the United States. And rather than celebrating our nation's diversity and welcoming immigrants to our shores, he's chosen to slam the door on immigration to this country at a time when we need the economic contributions of immigrants more than ever to recover from this crisis. Now, in Congress, I've been a strong champion for immigrant families for many years. And so it breaks my heart to see families separated by time and distance, or to hear about the challenges they face due to our broken immigration system. Well, thankfully, Joe Biden understands these challenges. That's why, as president, he will immediately begin working with Congress to pass comprehensive legislation to modernize our immigration system, with a priority on keeping families together, addressing backlogs, providing a roadmap to citizenship for nearly 11 million undocumented immigrants, which include 1.7 million Asian Americans. And I can't wait to support him in this effort. America needs a leader, especially now, who can govern in difficult times and move our country forward. We need a president who will fight for all of us. We need a president who will reject the hateful rhetoric that is right now being used to divide us. Our country can't afford 4 more years of chaos, corruption, and ineffective leadership. We need a leader like Joe Biden who understands the issues that matter the most to our community: immigration reform, education, healthcare, and the economy. He has the experience and compassion that all Americans are looking for. And we, the Chinese American community, can be the secret weapon in Joe Biden's victory. Asian Americans are the fastest growing racial group in the US and the fastest growing portion of the US electorate. We've doubled our voter registration numbers over the last decade from 2 to 4 million people. And by 2040, we will have even doubled those numbers. And let me tell you why this is so important. I actually think this could be a close election. We see Donald Trump trying to subvert this election by delaying the date of the election and even undermining the post office. The way for us to combat it is to have the largest vote possible for Joe Biden. And we Chinese Americans can truly make the difference, especially in the key swing states all across the nation. That's why I like to say we've gone from being marginalized to the margin of victory. So let's do everything we can to make sure that Chinese Americans show up at the polls to support Joe Biden, and that we are the margin of victory in November 2020 and beyond.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Chu. We've got to show up to the polls. I'd like to introduce our next panelist. In 2013, she became the first Asian American woman to be elected to the United States Congress in New York. Please help me welcome Representative Grace Meng.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Michelle. It's great to be here with my amazing colleagues, our leader, Congresswoman Judy Chu, and Congressman Ted Lieu as well. My name is Congresswoman Grace Meng. I represent parts of Queens, New York. 大家好，我叫孟昭文，我代表皇后区纽约，也借这个机会祝大家爸爸节快乐。非常感谢大家能够跟我们聚在一起，帮助我们Joe Biden 选上白宫。I'm so honored to be with all of you. Thank you so much for your efforts in helping to elect our next president, Joe Biden. What a privilege to be here with all of you. I want to share with you one of the most recent reasons of many why I am personally supporting Joe Biden. I represent parts of Queens, New York in the United States Congress. My district was one of the hardest and earliest hit districts in the entire country suffering from the coronavirus pandemic. We were the epicenter of the epicenter. I witnessed firsthand how our calls for help, large Chinese American communities here in Queens, how our calls for help went unanswered by the Trump administration. We asked him virtually every day, him and his administration, for help to help our communities come out of the coronavirus. We asked for PPE, we asked for resources. To this day, we are still waiting for answers. And one of the reasons I'm also supporting Vice President Biden is because not only did Donald Trump not provide us with the resources that we needed to save lives, instead, he just utilized, as Congresswoman Chu mentioned, he used racism to hide his lack of responsiveness and lack of responsibility. You know, by calling it the Chinese virus or the Kung Flu virus, that is a total lack of respect as to how words of leaders affect our everyday American communities, like our growing Chinese American community here in the United States. When he took office in 2017, he had already been stoking racial divides amongst different communities of color. And we have just seen this get worse week by week, month by month, during this pandemic. Because of Donald Trump's rhetoric, Chinese Americans have experienced race-motivated assault, abuse, paranoia, and contempt by our own neighbors. Some members of our community have even been victims of hate crimes. Joe Biden is a kind, a decent person. He is a family man. He will make it clear that hate has no safe harbor in this country, and his Justice Department will prioritize prosecuting hate crimes, especially ones suffered by Chinese Americans during this pandemic. And I want to thank Joe Biden for being the only presidential candidate to condemn the anti-Chinese and anti-Asian sentiments and discrimination that is rising across the country. We know that the road to recovery from this pandemic and this economic recession it has caused will not be easy. I see the worry in the eyes of my own constituents. I know they are concerned, whether they're restaurants, their law firms, or their startup businesses will be able to succeed in 2021 and beyond. I'm thankful for Joe Biden's efforts to support and strengthen our small business community. He has vowed, for example, to extend the state small business credit initiative, which drives close to $30 billion of private sector investments to small businesses, especially those owned by women and people of color. He also will establish a competitive grant program to provide $5 billion in funding to our states for new business startups outside of our biggest cities. So for all these reasons and more, Joe Biden has my support. I hope you will support him too. Joe Biden is the only candidate that appreciates our community to make sure that we have the tools and resources that we need to help us achieve our American dreams. 谢谢大家.
Thank you so much, Congresswoman Meng. I'd like to introduce our final speaker. In 2015, he was elected to the United States Congress representing California's 33rd District. He's now co-chair of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. And this is exciting for me because I was born in Torrance, California, in the district that he now represents. Please help me welcome Representative Ted Lieu.
Thank you, Michelle. 大家好，我是刘英平，国会议员。谢谢你们帮忙 Joe Biden. I'm Congressman Ted Lieu, and so honored to be here with all of you, and particularly honored to be here with my tremendous colleagues, Judy Chu and Grace Meng. I want to talk about why I support Joe Biden from my perspective as a veteran. I previously served on active duty in the U.S. military, and I fully understand how important it is to make sure we honor our service members, give them the resources that they need, and avoid stupid wars. Having a son who deployed to Iraq, Joe and Joe Biden understand the importance of protecting service members, giving them the equipment they need, and also helping our veterans. It was under the Obama-Biden administration that the Veterans Choice Act was signed into law. We know that's a good law because Donald Trump keeps trying to take credit for it, even though it happened under the Obama-Biden administration. And in terms of foreign policy, Joe Biden has such a huge wealth of experience from his many years in the Senate to what he did as vice president. And when you look at what Donald Trump has done in the last 3.5 years, he has made America weaker. He has had enormous problems in executing basic foreign policy actions. The State Department has been gutted with numerous positions left unfilled. And if you would just ask a simple question, such as, what is the U.S. strategy in Syria? Or what is it in Iran? The administration could not give you a simple answer or a basic answer to those very important questions. And we've also seen this complete fealty to Vladimir Putin. It's something I don't really understand. But what we do know is that the CIA has assessed that Russia has paid money to people to kill U.S. troops. We know that Russia is attacking COVID-19 research centers. We know that U.S. intelligence officials have now stated that Russia is interfering in our elections again for November 2020. And as of today, Donald Trump has still not been able to utter a single sentence condemning Vladimir Putin. That is traitorous behavior. That is something that Joe Biden is going to fix on day one in office. He's going to make sure that American elected officials, including the president, represent America and not any other foreign country. And it's so important that we make sure that Joe Biden wins in November. And let me now conclude by following up on what Judy Chu said. Asian Americans are indeed the fastest rising group in America, according to the census last decade. It's also important, by the way, that all of you fill out the census and get your friends to do so as well. We also know from a Pew Research report earlier this year that in terms of immigration, immigrants from Asia now outpace every other region of the world, including Latin America and Mexico. And so with every passing day, the rest of America looks more like California and Texas and New York. And we also know that Asian Americans are not only increasing rapidly, they're also increasing rapidly in swing states. According to APIA Vote, 11% of the electorate in Nevada is Asian American. It's 5.5% in Texas, 4.7% in Georgia, and 3.8% in Michigan. That's more than enough to make the difference. And all of you can help do that. So if you support Joe Biden, which I know you do, please give money to his campaign. Make sure that your family members and friends are registered to vote. And make sure that if you're going to vote by mail, vote early to avoid any delays at the post office. And with your help and support, we're going to have a very happy November. And with that, I yield back.
Thank you so much, Congressman Liu. Now we're going to open up this forum to questions. We're so excited to engage this panel with all of you, the Chinese American community, and answer the questions about what our America will look like under a Biden administration. So I'm just going to perhaps, I don't know if you want to go in order, but ask you the first question. What has Joe Biden done for our Chinese American community?
Well, okay, I guess I will start then. As Vice President, Joe Biden has stood shoulder to shoulder with President Obama to pass the landmark Affordable Care Act. Now, remember, prior to this act, there were those who had no hope of getting health insurance if they had a pre-existing condition. And a pre-existing condition could mean anything from asthma to even pregnancy for women. So many were prevented from even having any kind of health insurance. But with the Affordable Care Act, with the ACA, he was able to provide health insurance to an additional 20 million people, including 2 million AAPIs by the time President Obama and Vice President Biden left office. But even more importantly, we already know what kind of person Joe Biden is. He has always emphasized inclusion. Inclusion that means that everybody, regardless of where they come from, is treated with dignity. And that's why we know that he will take a vocal stand. And in fact, he already has taken a vocal stand against the anti-Asian hate crimes and incidents. He's also already committed to a fair immigration system that will fix this broken situation where we have 4 million AAPIs languishing in the backlogs for as much as 20 years, waiting to reunite with their family members. And in fact, he will be able to restore our employee visas. 80% of those who are on the employee visa backlog are Asians. So Joe Biden has committed to fixing this broken immigration system so that everybody will have a fair chance. And in fact, so that America can become even stronger.
I wanted to add a little bit. I really appreciated Joe Biden as Vice President and President Barack Obama in their efforts to implement one of the most diverse cabinets ever, and including Asian Americans at the seat of the table in the White House. Also, if you put Donald Trump and Joe Biden side by side, Donald Trump can't tell the difference between China and Chinese Americans. Joe Biden is the only presidential candidate that has condemned the anti-Asian sentiments, assaults, hate crimes that have been rising across the country. He cares so much and appreciates our being viewed as fellow Americans. Not only does he condemn that, he even wrote an op-ed himself condemning the xenophobic actions and incidents that have been rising across the country. In contrast, Donald Trump continues to use terms like Chinese virus, Kung flu, and this is, as you all know here, at the very least, very unhelpful to our community and literally puts our community at risk.
Let me add a point about education. Republicans are the party that's trying to cut the Department of Education. In fact, there have been Republican legislators that have introduced bills to eliminate the Department of Education. During the Obama-Biden administration, they already sought to fully fund education. And even today, we see that Betsy DeVos, one of Trump's appointees, has done her best to completely wreck that department and to hurt teachers and students across America. Joe Biden will reverse that when he gets into office. And education is something that's important, I know, not only to our community, but to all Americans.
Thank you so much. Second question, what will Joe Biden do to create more jobs and improve wages?
Sexy boy.
That was super cute. Is that your son, Grace?
I'm sorry.
No.
Well, first of all, let me say that it's so important for us to recover from COVID-19. And we know that there have been drastic job losses. We have so many people that have filed for unemployment. So immediately, what we need is to provide relief to working families, small businesses, and communities. We need to have a real strategy to deal with the pandemic. We know that Joe Biden will listen to the scientists because actually we kind of can't all get back to work unless we feel safe. So the first important thing is to make sure that we have the testing, the contact tracing that will make people who go back to work feel safer, knowing that something can be done to treat them and for them to know if they are indeed infected. But we also know that he will provide state, local, and tribal governments with the aid that they need so that educators, firefighters, and other essential workers aren't being laid off. He will, and this is so important, he will extend our COVID crisis unemployment insurance because we know right now that people are suffering because we have not been able to get the Republicans to agree to that extension. And he will immediately put people to work by enlisting them to help fight the pandemic through a public health job corps.
Representative Grace? May?
Sure, I'll add something. You know, I really respect and appreciate some of the policies and potential legislation that Joe Biden has already put forth. Literally pieces of legislation and language that would go towards to help us fight for a stronger and more expansive middle class, to make sure that we are creating more opportunities for everyday Americans so that they could earn a wage, living wage, save money, and send their kids to college. This is what the American dream is all about. And this is something that Joe Biden understands at the very core of his heart. And that no matter where in America you are and no matter where you've come from, that you deserve that equal access to be able to work hard, to maintain a job, and to save up and to protect your family. And Joe Biden, no one gets it more than Joe Biden does. This is something that the current president, Donald Trump, is completely unable to relate to. And he is also someone that we've seen, Joe Biden, that will help create that infrastructure to protect our nation. We have witnessed the worst of the worst now in the middle of the pandemic, where Donald Trump has been unable to protect America and unable to save lives. So we need Joe Biden in office ASAP.
Joe Biden has already introduced an entire Build It Back Better plan to get jobs going in America. In contrast, a few weeks ago, Donald Trump was asked what his priorities are for a second term. It wasn't even a trick question, and he couldn't answer that. So just go ahead and read Joe Biden's plan, and you'll see that the person we want in November is someone who actually has a plan to get jobs and to increase it in America.
Yeah, simple. JoeBiden.com. Check it out. Last question. What are some everyday things this audience watching can do to help Joe Biden get elected?
Well, let me say that this campaign is clearly going to be virtual. So there's actually so much that people can do from their homes. They can do phone banking. They can do text banking. They can do virtual events. They could do marketing. Actually, they could really help us with things like translation services, because we know that we need to reach our Chinese American audience, and 1/3 of Asian Americans are limited at English proficient. Videos that are in different languages, that could really help. So volunteering your time will be of immense help. Connecting with your network to make sure that they support Joe Biden and that they know what the truth is with regard to what is at stake and why we need Joe Biden to be in office. And remember, we just heard yesterday that Russia is going to do a huge disinformation campaign against Joe Biden. We need to have everybody aware that this will happen so that nobody will believe some super ugly thing that I'm sure the Russians are going to put out pretty soon. So we need to make sure that we're on top of the truth and that we communicate with our friends about what the truth is and that we get everybody out to vote, because it could be a very, very close election.
Yeah, I want to echo Judy's words about the importance of making sure that we are starting right in our own homes. Are we registering our family members, our neighbors, our coworkers, registering them to vote? If they're not eligible to vote, making sure that we are finding other folks that may be, and they can still volunteer, do all the things that Judy previously mentioned. And if you are unsure about news that you are hearing, please feel free to check with the Biden campaign or to check with any of our teams. We are happy to help you get the correct and accurate information. And I want to say that many of us Congress members like Judy, like Ted, like myself, it's actually been a lot easier to travel to events to different states throughout the country. And I want to thank the Biden campaign because we've been working very closely together. You know, for example, we attended Lunar New Year events virtually throughout the country. We've been participating in various events in Georgia, in Pennsylvania, in Nevada, Michigan, Wisconsin. The Asian American and the Chinese American presence is strong. So if you have a local event and you would like us to participate and show up virtually, we are very happy to do so. And we can obviously do it virtually and very safely. But thank you to each and every one of you for helping.
I think Abraham Lincoln had it right when he said public sentiment is everything. With it, nothing can fail. Without it, nothing can succeed. So understand your power to help shape public sentiment. Social media is free. So if you write a post on a social media platform and it resonates, maybe you'll touch your voter in Florida or in Texas or in Ohio. Think about also writing letters to the editor. It does turn out that many people do write letters to the editor, to these newspapers. It's also true that many of these folks are the same people. So if you start writing in, then one day you'll get published and you can start changing hearts and minds. And then also consider giving directly to the Joe Biden campaign. When you give money directly to an elected to a campaign directly, they can use that money and buy TV ads at basically 1/4 to 1/5 the rate that a super PAC pays. So, for example, if you gave $100, it'd be like giving Joe Biden $500. versus you giving $100 to a super PAC. So it is very important to give directly to the campaign, and I urge you to do so.
Thank you all so much. Those are great ideas. And thank you so much for answering those questions. I want to thank all the panelists, Representative Ted Lieu, Grace Meng, Judy Chu, for joining. Next, we have a very special treat for you from my dear friend. He's an 18-time Grammy Award winner, has been a United Nations Messenger of Peace since 2005, and in 2011 was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom by President Barack Obama. Here to give us a one-of-a-kind musical performance and to tell us why he's supporting Joe Biden for president, please welcome Yo-Yo Ma.
Thank you, Michelle, for your lovely words. Hello, everyone. Today, I am proud to support the candidacy of Joe Biden for the presidency of the United States. As your fellow citizen and as your fellow Asian American, I cannot overemphasize how crucial it is for you to work for, to volunteer, and to give from substance of yourselves, and above all, to vote, to give Joe Biden a change in title, to take the vice out and make Joe Biden the next president of the United States. 大家好，我是马友友。我们大家是中国人、亚洲人、华侨、美国人。今天我想和你们谈到两件事，我们的责任，同时大家的需要。对我来说，现在整个世界需要我们做一件事，我们的责任呢，就是要选举拜登先生变成拜登总统。我想请大家要大家的帮助，大家的服务，大家的金钱，为了选举拜登先生变成拜登总统。And now in song, I will play for you simple gifts, and then let the music take us to where we came from and lands us in the country where we turn our hopes into reality.
That was absolutely brilliant and so beautiful, Yo-Yo. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for your support for Joe Biden. Next up, we have my good friend who was Deputy Chief of Protocol under the Obama-Biden administration and current Senior Advisor to the campaign, Dennis Cheng.
Great. Thank you so much, Michelle. It's such a pleasure to be working with you again. And thank you so much to Yo-Yo Ma for that incredible performance and for your support of Joe Biden. Good afternoon. My name is Dennis Cheng, and I'm a Senior Advisor to the Biden for President campaign. And on behalf of my colleagues and our three special guests, Representatives Judy Chu, Grace Meng, and Ted Lieu, thank you to each and every one of you for joining us today. We are less than 3 months away from the most consequential election of our lifetimes. As a veteran of 5 presidential campaigns, including Hillary Clinton's campaign in 2016, I know that we cannot take anything for granted and that every single vote counts. As the Vice President has said before, this is truly a battle for the soul of our country. And it's not just about who will be serving in the Oval Office next year, but it's also about the Supreme Court, how we build back from this pandemic, the future that we want for ourselves, for our children, and for future generations. Which is why we need allies like you to have conversations about Joe Biden with your neighbors, your parents, your children, your relatives, everyone that you know, to make sure they are registered to vote and that their voices are heard and counted in November. The Chinese Americans for Biden leadership team has pasted a link in the chat, so please copy and save that link so that you can register for events, sign up to phone bank or text bank with potential voters, and volunteer in other ways. We humbly invite you to consider donating your time, your talents, and your contributions to helping our campaign spread Joe Biden's message of hope and resilience across the country. So with that, thank you again to each and every one of you. And I'd like to hand it back over to my colleague, Howard, who will walk through with you on the best ways to stay involved. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, Dennis. I want to thank our distinguished guest speakers today, Congresswoman Judy Chu, Congresswoman Grace Meng, Congressman Ted Lieu, as well as the legendary Yo-Yo Ma, and of course, our very own Michelle KWAN. Each of these distinguished speakers are AAPI trailblazers in their own right, each an inspiration to so many, but you can be too. We're building a movement of grass tops and grassroots leaders nationally and in our battleground states who believe it is important to address issues that affect our AAPI community. This is the election of our lives, the most consequential election that will have untold impact, good or bad. So, how do you get involved? Text AAPI to 30330 to join our movement and become an AAPIs for Biden voter. This will connect you to our online community where you can sign up to make calls, send text messages, or host an AAPIs Assembles Voters event. We need every single one of you to answer the calling. Text Vote Joe to download our campaign's organizing app to receive daily actions you can do to get Joe Biden elected and connected with volunteers in your neighborhood. Go to joebiden.com/coalitions to sign up for our coalition's team's efforts. But also, like Congressman Ted Lieu said, post and engage with us on social media using the hashtag AAPIs for Biden. The only way we're going to win in November is by each of you organizing your members, your communities, your families, the aunties, the uncles in your life to vote for Joe. Thank you all for participating, and million thanks for your attention today. 大家真的谢谢大家. Have a good day.